Right. And it's recording. And welcome back to the Ashley Elaine podcast. So, I have not done an interview in it feels like years, and I'm so happy to be doing them again. This is probably my favorite part of doing the podcast, is because I never want to just share my story. I love listening to other people's stories because everybody's story has the ability to make an impact on one person, 100 people, 1 million people. So today I am joined by Ian. He was born and raised in Philly, but over time he realized that city life in the US just wasn't aligning with who he is and how he wanted to live. This call led him to the Andes Mountain of rural Ecuador, with a lot of story in between, where he lives and works now. Ian's purpose and passion are rooted in embodying a strong, loving, authentic, and grounded expression of the divine masculine, which is so beautiful, and in supporting others in living empowered lives aligned with their purpose. He currently works as a life coach and as an assistant director of a spiritually based nonprofit. Both roles align deeply with his calling. He lives on a farm where he spends his days working and learning from Mother Earth, and he's actively building towards an off the grid, sustainable, organic farm that reflects the values he teaches and lives by. Same difference. So, this season of Stories as Medicine is about telling the truth, not just about our growth, but what actually happens and what the cost is to growth. Like, there's a cost to everything. It's about the unraveling, the unlearning, and the courage it takes to choose freedom so that something new can be planted. Ian, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Let's give a round of applause for Ian.
Ah, well, thank you so much for
Uh,
having me. This is a pleasure.
yes, yes. So, your life reflects that kind of journey in a very real way. Tell us how you got to Ecuador.
All right. Well, yeah, it really starts. So when I was 21, it was the end of my junior year at Temple University, and it was the last finals had just ended. So we were celebrating. Me and my friends drank. We were walking to the bar, and I stopped to urinate behind a bush on campus, and a police officer saw and kind of like yelled something to me. I walked over. I was like, "Oh, I'm just urinating. I'm just peeing." And he mumbled something I didn't hear him. I got closer and I said, something casually. Probably didn't wasn't as thoughtful as I should have been, but I was kind of like, "Oh, I'm just peeing. Like we're good, cop." And then I gave him a second to kind of, see if he wanted to say something or stop. I think he mumbled something else. And I walked by him. And I thought that was that. Met up with my friends. And he ran and got his bike and like chased me down and kind of snuck behind me and tried to grab me. And on the stand, he told me that I said, "Fuck you, cop," which
Mm,
is kind of ridiculous. Like I remember saying, "We cool, cop." I guess that whatever. So he tried to grab me. I stepped to the side, dodged him, and then I ran to the left. Should have stayed still. Ran to the left and jumped down a flight of stairs, but it was raining. Slipped and fell, and then he chased me, got me, and then just pretty much started pounding on me. Other cops came, and they got a few kicks in on me,
mm.
and then I woke up in Temple University Hospital with a light in my eye. I had a black eye. The next morning, they took me to the holding cell where two other cops tried to explain to me that how it was all my fault. But, I knew that that was not the case.
Yeah.
Spent 8 hours in a holding cell, and that experience changed my life forever.
Mm,
Before I was like on a good trajectory, I was a normal dude doing the college thing on a nice path, and I just got so much taken away from me. Even
yeah.
like for me at the time, what was worse than just getting beat up by the police and being locked up and being in jail, that was traumatic in itself. But I lost really amazing opportunities. Like 2 days after, I was scheduled to go to Jamaica for a
Mm.
service immersion project through Temple, where
Oh,
I think like
wow.
300 students wrote essays and they picked 12, one being me. Um,
Mm.
So I got that taken away. And then that summer, I had an internship for I was working with Down syndrome and autistic people at a summer
Mhm.
camp, paid internship. That was a big deal
Yeah.
back then. I got
Yes.
that taken away. And then the following semester, I was accepted to study abroad in Rome, Italy, where I'm half Italian,
Hmm.
and I got that taken away.
Mm.
So I pretty much went from like, living a good normal life to like having everything taken away from me.
Yeah.
And it was devastating.
Yeah.
So I kind of went, I went through at first, I actually kept a strong spirit, so to speak. Um, oh, I should add, actually, the most important part that I forgot is the fact that when it first happened, they charged me with five charges,
Hmm.
one being aggravated assault on a police officer, which is a felony. So they
Mm.
lied, they overreacted,
Hmm.
lied, and then charged me with a felony. Um, and so at first I was like, I can't let this define me. I gotta continue working hard. And luckily I was with some friends who recorded the back end of the altercation. So I was like, I know
Yeah.
we got video that like we have the truth on video. I'm gonna be all right. I can't let it get to me. And so I started to actually work harder and be a better student. But one fateful day, my friend, he was like talking to me about aliens. And I was like, "You're crazy, bro. What are you talking about?" He showed me a song that a rapper named Ab Soul that I really liked called Nibiru. And in this song, he was talking about all these concepts I never heard of, spiritual concepts and alien concepts. And I was like, what is this man talking about? And so I
Hmm.
started Googling it and I just got fascinated. It was aliens, and then it was history, and then it was politics, and I dove really, really deep into a rabbit hole very
Yeah.
fast to the point where I stopped focusing on school and I started focusing on learning about whatever like kind of came away. I kind of got addicted. Like I was
Hmm.
like, you know, smoking a lot of weed to deal with the pain and watching, conspiracy theory videos, to be honest. And so that led me to getting bad grades that semester. The following semester, I was like, okay, I can't let this define me. I got to keep going. I'm getting closer to this trial where they're, trying to put me away for 10 to 15 years for something I didn't do. A week before the spring semester final, my girlfriend at the time, she broke up with me. And like,
Hmm.
everything was getting fuzzy because I kind of started being like, wait, like what we've been told about the world is a lie. I want to learn. You given the history, and then there's the history we're not told. And I was obsessed
Yeah.
with that. Right.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend breaks up with me a week before finals. I'm like super deeply depressed and I don't go to my finals.
Mm.
So I drop out of college at the same time all of my friends are graduating college, going to, different jobs and different opportunities, and I just have nothing. And
Mm.
that's when I got like extremely depressed.
Mm.
Um, so the trial, they charged me with a felony. A week before the trial, they dropped everything
Mm.
and was pretty much like, do public service, go to this drinking class, and you're good. And I was told later that they were going to do that the whole time. They just wanted to kind of scare me, into shutting up.
That's
So this,
horrible.
yes.
That is so horrible. This is
So
our
that's like
system.
that's how
Yeah.
the story starts. Yeah.
Yeah. No, just I think that's the system, right? It's like, how can I scare you into, just like you said, right? The history that we're taught, and then the history that they cover up, that they don't teach us, that they don't want us to know. They don't want us to awaken to whatever our own truth is and those spiritual truths about ourselves, because that's where we are more powerful. But for the system to be like, oh, we just wanted to scare you to be quiet, it's like, but you want us to trust you.
Yeah, it's not a good trust building exercise.
No. So from your, like, so now you've hit the end of your college career, whatever that looks like, right? Your friends are graduating, you've hit this other pivotal moment, right? Like in my head, I'm a very visual person. In my head, I'm seeing like them going one direction and you are now heading in another direction. Um, and just for whoever's listening, I know like the beginning parts of that other direction always looks like, damn.
Yeah, super damn. It was
Yeah,
pretty much a very, very deep depression.
yeah.
Because
How did you move through that depression? How did you?
well, it definitely took time. Pretty much maybe like a year, I want to say. There's kind of a lost year where like I almost don't remember a lot. Like the summer of
Mm,
2013 was the
mm-hmm,
worst. Because well, first of all, like you're talking about the system. I had become
mm-hmm.
obsessed about learning about systems. So
Yeah,
I was learning about our financial system and how, that's scam based. I was learning about the judicial system while I was in the judicial system. And then I
yeah,
was realizing that, like, oh, this wasn't built for me. This was built, for me to be just a worker to benefit somebody else.
yeah.
And I'm learning all these things. So I'm pretty much like, F everything. Like if they well before if they want to put me, I remember thinking like if they're gonna lock me up for 10, 15 years for getting beat up by police officers, I'm killing myself. Like so I
Mm,
became very suicidal. And
yeah,
that's when I became addicted to weed, where if I wasn't super high, I was probably thinking about like something very depressive or killing myself. And so
mm,
like it was very, very deep. I actually so I would say I had a weak attempt at suicide. I took
mm-hmm,
a handful of sleeping pills
mm-hmm,
when I could have took the whole bottle.
mm-hmm,
Woke up and just the struggle. That summer was like I'd be driving down the street and I'd be like looking at the buildings in Philly, just imagining jumping off. Or if I just move my wheel like this, it would all be over. So just
yeah,
like deep, dark depression. Well,
mm,
really, we're kind of like so. I was addicted to learning. I was moving kind of from like history to religion to spirituality. And
mm-hmm,
I think that was the spark where, I started learning about Buddhism and Confucianism and Taoism and like, oh, like there is a better way. There is beauty in the world because everything had
mm-hmm,
got taken from me. So I kind of dove really deep to the point of, you know what? I'm going to be a monk and I'm going to disappear into some cave somewhere and I'm going to do this whole journey like Buddha. So I got
mm-hmm,
really, really deep into that. And then at the same time, I started plotting my escape out of the States. At the same
mm,
time, we decided to sue Temple University
mm-hmm,
because they lied and they put me through this hell.
yeah,
And then around the same time, a friend of mine asked me to be her manager, a music manager. She was an
mm-hmm,
incredible singer. And, we had a whole history where I would tell her, if you want to really pursue it, you got to move to Philly. And she finally moved to Philly and asked me to be her manager. So that was like my
nice.
first like kind of purpose, where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, I didn't know anything about being a manager, but I had a good network. I used to throw parties and I knew DJs and people in that scene. So I was
mm,
like, oh, let's do it. So I started Googling what a manager did and doing it. And then that
yeah,
led me to becoming a manager of a band. And so that was like I kind of started to have a purpose of like, okay, like this is fun. I'm good at it enough. Um, Let me do this. And then yeah, but that whole phase is like still very blurry because I was, super high, super depressed, just hanging on. And
yeah.
damn, like put it. It was like I could never really put into words how dark and difficult that time was. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's whew, if you've never been there, God bless you. 'Cause that's a period of time like I don't wish on anybody, right? Even my worst enemy, the person that may have led me to that, right? And there's something gracious about hitting the bottom, right? There's something there's something inviting about this is what happens when I start playing with stuff. There's something inviting about hitting the bottom and allowing yourself to hit it.
Right.
Right? Sometimes you have to allow yourself to hit all of those rocks on the way down. Like you kind of it's almost like you don't have any control over hitting it, right? Um, because there's always a purpose tied to it, right?
100%.
Purpose is not always just the light and the work and all of these the glitz and the glam of what people have made purpose become, right? Purpose is going to ask you, can you sit in the dark for a minute?
Yes, 100%.
Because then look what happened. You had someone come ask you about being their manager, right? So now that catapulted you into something else to learn, right? And I always feel like history, religion, and spirituality, like they're in a triangle. Like they
Yes.
you can't really learn one without the other. So like when we talked earlier and we talked about Cambodia, that's what I thought about when you said that just now. Is just like, oh, that like that actually really does make sense because in order to understand the spiritual richness of Cambodia, right? You got to learn the history of the people, the land, not learn it full throttle, but like just understand it, have at least basic knowledge of that part of Asia to then understand, oh, well, this is where that religion came from, right? It's all tied to each other. But what people fail to understand also is what tied to it is not just the light of it, but also those dark times that have to come with it. Because those dark times of history is where we tap into our stories and the spirituality, right? That connection of the two. How did you end up like just bringing all of that together? Like now you have someone that asks you to be their manager. You just did this deep dive into like the history of this country, spirituality, religion. What when you said yes to being her manager, how did you like what did you feel start to kind of move that brought all of these nuances together that you had did so much research in?
Interesting. I guess at that specific time, it was kind of like just something to grasp onto.
Yeah.
I was just kind of floating in barely surviving existence.
Mm.
And so when she asked, she's an incredible person, and it was just like something interesting to do that, gave me purpose really. So as
Mm-hmm.
far as like, it took years to really like work through everything that happened. But
Yeah.
like, at that moment, I was still just in the mess, but it was like something that I didn't have to just like look at it all day long. It was
Yeah.
like something where like, okay, at least I can like put my energy. And I was deep in my victim consciousness. I can
Mm-hmm.
look back, I guess understandably so, because I did nothing wrong and I was just thrown all of this like hell, really. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, at that moment, like I was just happy to like be doing something interesting because
Yeah.
yeah, until then I was uh, an umpire. Like I was umpiring baseball games. I was landscaping a little bit. I felt like dead end. I didn't have my degree. I just felt stuck. And again,
Mm.
I was deeply depressed. Suicide was like an option. I was thinking about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, the it took years. Like, it
Yeah.
happened in 2012. And, I feel like 2013, 14 was when I was able to look at it and like, oh, this was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because this, like,
Mm.
this forced me to go through the mud and become who I'm supposed to be and look at all the friggin' shadow and all the pain on earth and really like sit with it and just get deep into the debauchery of history and my history as well. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, at that moment, it was just like I just had something to look the other way, and
Yeah.
I was still barely hanging on. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that you said that you were able to look back at that moment and say this was actually the best thing that happened to me. Because you could have stayed stuck,
I know. Yeah,
right? I believe, not I think, I believe that hard times are a part of how we have to live, right? Like nobody is exempt from experiencing any type of turmoil, trauma, whatever on this earth. And we have the withal to choose, is this where I want to stay stuck?
mm, yeah,
Right. That's so crazy. I was saying that to myself this morning. And I was like, why did this even hit me? Like, I was just, for some reason in my mind this morning, I don't know, my brain be doing some weird stuff. But I was just like, I just kept hearing you have the choice to not stay stuck. But I was like, and I like was just like looking, I was just like, but I don't feel stuck. And I was like, but who is that for? So maybe it's not for me. Maybe, it's not for you, but it was meant for this conversation because
mm,
somebody else needed to hear it. You have like, you don't have to stay stuck. Right? Like, you don't have to. It's because you could, like, as hard as that season was, the depression and the suicidal thoughts and all of that, over time it would have became easy to stay there,
yeah.
right? It, like, depression
Oof.
can become a comfortable place because now you formed an identity of being a depressed person instead of I was depressed at this point in time. Mm,
Right.
right? So
Yep.
you have choice in who you want to become, and those dark moments give you the space to say, okay, so like, what we doing? You want to
Yep.
stay here or you want to move from here? Because both are hard, right? My pastor always says, like, life is hard, but you get to choose your hard,
Yeah, I love that.
right? You get to choose, and you chose to keep dragging yourself forward and keep pulling yourself forward and keep researching and learning and just trying to find an out that wasn't going to like let you escape looking at self, because at some point we have to look at ourselves too, even if whatever has taken place has come from the other person, right? I always say, like, we're all mirrors of each other. So at some point, right, there's a lesson that we're learning from everybody that we engage with, and everybody's not meant to, like, everybody in every situation is not meant to stay with us forever, right? We're supposed to learn something and keep it moving. And the people that learn, they keep rising.
Mm,
But you, like, man, and then to be a man, like, I have to throw that out.
yeah.
Because just when you talk about healing and being a man, like, of course I'm not a man, but it just seems so taboo for men to heal, to feel emotions, to be vulnerable with themselves. I'm not even at like, we're not even asking for you to be vulnerable with us. It's like, okay, well, we need you to connect with yourself, right? As a man, with all the stereotypes in the world that are given to men when we're talking about depression, when we're talking about suicidal ideation, when we're talking about manhood, what were you, did any of that come up for you at all? Just like, just that narrative of, oh, well, I'm a man, I gotta suck this shit up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, I think I got like a very, very clear, I guess, example of how, prior to this experience and most of it during, I
Mm-hmm.
just did not have the capability to even really connect with my emotions, or like I didn't even know what that was, where to begin. I
Mm.
remember thinking like about looking for male role models and then just nothing. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe my one friend's dad who I kind of know.
Hmm.
So it's like, we as a man, I saw that we are not taught. It's not talked about. It's actually like, the other way where you're weak if you
Yeah.
even talk or think about that. It is so taboo within, the American, at least the Philly culture.
Hmm.
So there was none of that. I didn't even know where to begin. What kind of I was put in a position where, so I met my girlfriend, what was that, 2015, 16, and throughout our experiences, she was the one who first like showed me just emotional intelligence and
Yeah.
how, she could kind of see and feel things that I was like, whoa. And I didn't even really kind of believe her at first, but eventually it's like, you're right so many times. It's like, all right, I trust you.
Yeah.
And then, we got to the point where I was healing. I was doing just enough in every aspect of my life. I was healing just enough. I was working just enough. I was
Mm-hmm.
by no means thriving in any way, but like I had a goal, which was to move out of the States. And I was
Hmm.
little by little doing enough to get towards that. And what really forced me open is that, my relationship with my girlfriend was
Hmm.
was becoming sour
Hmm.
because, well, another thing, so in 2019 I got really sick,
Hmm.
which that like I changed as a person because I just
Yeah.
became zombie. I lost my all my energy, but the relationship just was not what it was before
Hmm.
because I was still depressed, I was sick, and I was not willing to look at it, the truth of like who I had become. And I was
Mm.
just, trying to run away from that reality. And she was the one that, like, multiple times, and eventually, like, the final time of, like, look, like, I see so much potential in you, but if you don't try to, like, fix this, heal yourself, then it's not going to work out. Like, this ain't
Yeah.
working out. I need a partner that I can trust and feels like is there for me and is there for themselves. And
Yeah.
so she kind of put that ultimatum on me, which made me like, we moved out, spent 4 months apart. I found a therapist, my life coach, mentor, and we just worked, we worked through my traumas,
Hmm.
getting beat up, getting sick, my relationship with my dad. We worked through how to communicate with my girlfriend. And we worked
Hmm.
through like, what do I want in my life?
Yeah.
And what's holding me back and what needs to change so I can actually put energy towards that every day in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was 2023, I want to say, the beginning of that,
Hmm.
something like that. So that's when, like, before it was like, it was a lot of learning, like, oh, learning about emotions, learning about the thing. But I was too broken to even really like dive in. Just maybe get
Yeah.
my feet wet a little bit, but it was
Yeah.
all learning.
Hmm.
Once the ultimatum happened and I started working with my therapist, my mentor, that's when it all opened up where it's just like, oh, there's a lot of pain and trauma and shadow in there. You gotta look at that or like it's just going to eat you alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can learn all the things in the world. You
Yup,
can retain all this information and knowledge until you have to, or not even have to, until you are ready to embody it. That's a whole nother ball game,
yup.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then like the embodiment means I'm ready to integrate what does it look like to own my emotions in real time, right? Not just say that I'm owning my emotions, because we can say we're owning our emotions and then a conflict happens and now you have to look at yourself and say, did I own up to my emotions? Was I honest with myself about how I felt? And did I express that, in the best way that I can to my partner, to my friends, to whoever about how I feel, right? So it's like I always talk to one of me and my girlfriends, we're always talking about integration and how people like don't really, it's not, I don't want to say not talked about enough, but it's not people who go through like that integration stage isn't discussed enough, because those are
Mm,
hard pivot points, right? Where you are like, it's like the final exam to like the next version of you. It's okay,
uh,
you've read all these things, you've been in therapy, you've been with the life coach, you've done, the conversations are happening, you're being told over and over again from a loving place, from the person you want to be with, that XYZ needs to change. The integration is okay, like I keep hearing these things, I keep seeing these things, I've been reading these things, and now it's like, how do I lift up my foot and move it forward?
yes. And that I learned that is a skill. Like that is an
Yes.
ability where that think that like understanding that kind of helped me realize where it's like, before, maybe a difficult conversation or argument with my girlfriend, and I
Mm-hmm.
would immediately shut
Mm.
down, become defensive, be like, nope, you're a perfectionist. You expect too much. You want this, this, and this, and just shut
Mm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably run away, get high, cycle would continue, whatever. And then once, I realized it, like, that's not helpful. And I'm just running from the real juice, the real meat. And
Yeah.
I had to realize that when this happens, it's like, oh, this is an opportunity. Whereas, like, now when that happens, I immediately feel my stomach. Up, there's that feeling. Okay, this means it's happening. What do I do? Okay, let me tell her right now I'm a little overwhelmed. Can I get like 10, 15 minutes to, deal with this? This conversation is very, very important to me, but like I'm
Mm-hmm.
shutting down right now. I need to go do my like what's good for me, which is gotta go listen to music, I gotta go freestyle, I gotta go for a walk, or I gotta call a friend. It's like so I got mechanisms that are like immediately activating because I worked through like
Yeah.
I learned that emotions are really superpowers. And when you can connect to them and it's like, oh, I'm feeling this. And I see it. My girlfriend, being a woman, being her, whatever, she's very deeply connected. She knows what she feels, she knows what it means. For me, it's a process. I need to
Yeah.
like stop and be like, oh, what's going on here? Why am I feeling? Oh, this is this. Oh, I need to connect. Oh, this is this. This means this. Okay, let me work through it. Right.
Yeah.
And that has like, changed the ability to do that has really changed my life
Yeah.
because now I see emotions are really signals that are telling me something. And when I listen and then I act upon them, my life has gotten better. Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Sorry, yeah, I have all these. I'm a post-it notes girl, so there's post-it
right.
notes all on my wall. And when you said that, I remember reading I started reading a book. I didn't finish it, which whatever, by Joe Dispenza, and I wrote on my wall, emotions are chemical feedback.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they are. It's data, right? It's data for you to be able to pay attention to what's happening, because our nervous system is our best friend.
Yep.
And it's everything is not going to feel like fear, but everything can feel like fear, right? Until you start listening to your that data that is being given to you, and now you can separate, oh no, this isn't fear, this is what happens to my body when fear is popping up.
Right.
This is very close to fear, but it's whatever that other emotion is, right?
For me, a
So
lot of time it was shame.
yeah, so
Mm.
it's a beautiful thing when we're connecting with ourselves and able to feel, okay, what does fear feel like in my body? Or let's do shame. What does shame feel like in my body? Where does shame show up in my body? Right? And what practice do I need when that emotion comes up? And it could
Yep.
be breath work, it could be all of these things, but it's I love that you said that it's a skill, when you said that in the beginning, it's a skill.
It
And
really is.
oh my gosh. And it's a skill that everybody can learn, right? You
Yes.
can learn it and you have to be willing to.
Yes.
Because then we fall into the, well, that's just how I am type thing.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's
I'd be damned if I'm about to be like 80 years old talking about something that's just who I am. No, I would say if you're still here, you got plenty to learn, plenty to, tap into. Oh, that's rich. That's really rich. I wanted to tell you when you started talking about like manhood for, and just like tapping into your emotions as a man. I just so happened to look at the clock and it said 333.
there you go.
So I was like, oh, that was a question that needed to be asked. Yes.
Yes.
Um, so and I love that even I mean, you could have easily written your girlfriend off and just be like, oh, you're just emotional.
Yeah, I could have. And, the thing about that is that would have been very stupid.
Mm,
And I'm glad I didn't. I think deep down, I really, maybe not even deep down, shallow down to deep down, I realized that, like, yeah, she's probably making a point. Like, she's got a point there. And she is not worth, losing this like incredible divine relationship just because
mm,
I'm not willing to like look at myself and try to
yeah.
become a better person. Another aspect of it, I really at one point I broke it down was like everything that she was saying that she wanted for me is also what I wanted for me. It just
Mm,
hurt because she was saying it, and maybe she was frustrated about it, or she might get a little angry. And, so I had to look at myself and be like, oh, no, no, I can't believe. But ultimately, it was just kind of her way and maybe God's way of being
yeah.
like, here is an opportunity for growth. You really can't grow unless, there's some pain or some stress or some tension
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
Mm,
I made the right decision. It would have been the horrible decision to just give up because of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I love that. Kudos to her. Hey, girlfriend.
Okay,
Um, so one quick question, and then I have another one. But you mentioned like working with your therapist and life coach around your relationship with your dad. How does, and you can go wherever you feel comfortable with that, but how did that help you with your transition into like your integration, your transition into becoming, and then this taking flight to now leave the States for good?
well, first of all, once I started really this work, I had already left. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
was planning on leaving before,
Yeah.
just to get that clear. But
Yeah.
so one thing she really helped me with is just the perspective shift with
Okay.
all of my traumas, with my
Hmm.
dad, with the police, with getting sick, where I had a kind of a victim, not a kind of, I had a victim mentality of like,
Mm.
why did this happen to me? This was so unfair and so painful, and I didn't do nothing wrong to anybody. Like, why me?
Yeah.
And then she helped me see the perspective of no, this happened for you. This was
Mm.
your path. You weren't supposed to have, a healthy, normal family or just go through a normal path. That was
Yeah.
not for you. You were
Mm.
supposed to get your ass beat by the police, be dragged through the mud, be depressed for years, have to deal with all of this pain and shame because that is what was supposed to awaken your connection with source, with
Mm.
yourself, with
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
I'm so much more passionate about life because I've been through the mud, right?
Mm.
And so that
Mm-hmm.
perspective shift was like, oh, like, no, this happened for a reason. Like, this is actually the best thing that could have happened to me because now I get to, be me and and
Yeah.
and the journey that it led me on, like if this hadn't happened, 2016, I moved to Thailand. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
2021, I moved to Ecuador. You know, my relation, all these things. I wouldn't have my relationship if all this hadn't happened to me. I wouldn't be the person I was to
Yeah.
even. I wouldn't even be prepared to have a relationship with her. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So the
Yeah.
perspective shift, even with my dad, like you asked the question you asked, but like, my dad was not a good dad.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, it felt like he was there for me because he took me to all my games and I played baseball, basketball, football. So my dad was there and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But in every other aspect of my life, besides sports, my dad was not there. My mom,
Mm.
my dad got divorced when I was 5, and I didn't even realize that until I was 18.
Mm.
But then, and he passed away. It's going to be almost 5 years. Wow.
Oh wow.
Um, I was able, after that happened, I connected with his brother and my cousins and the family. And like I already knew, but I just got so many more layers of like, my dad went through so much hell himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dad, this is deep, but I'm gonna go for it, whatever. My
Go for
dad's
it.
great grandmother, my
Mm-hmm.
dad, great grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
was raped by her slave master.
Mm-hmm.
And then so his grandma was born out of that. And
Mm.
this is like, this is late 1800s.
We
So
talking about
after slavery,
generational trauma. Yeah.
generational
Yeah.
trauma and so my dad's parents were alcoholics. They weren't there.
Yeah.
My dad was raised by his grandmother, the woman who was born because of rape. And my dad was just, he didn't have really, like, he had a grandma who was old and couldn't really take care. He was running the streets of Southern Jersey, like all the pain and all the issues. So I was able to look at that and being like, of course he couldn't be a good dad. Like, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't supposed to have a good dad. I was
Yeah.
supposed to, you know, go through hell to become who I'm supposed to be. And so that
Yeah.
perspective shift changed everything.
Yeah. Oof, 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 oof. Welcome to the Pink Sheep Collective, right? Where we come
Let's
and
go.
break generational curses and start shifting the narrative. I got chills like running through me. This is so divine because that piece there is what allows for you to take your two hands, pick up your foot, and step forward into
Yes.
that integration, right? Because at some point you have to say this was actually good for me. I was meant to endure this because if I didn't, I don't know who I would be today,
Yep.
right? Like I resonate with everything you just said, and I think I gotta stop saying I think it coming from a male's perspective hits a lot deeper and a lot powerful because it's a reminder that healing is available if you want it. Healing
Right.
is not just this one time thing. And I mean, and you're not even healing just your shit. You're healing generations of stuff, right? You're healing
Trying.
like generations of stuff, right? So that victim mindset that you were speaking about was passed down to you.
Yeah. Yes.
And it just so
Correct.
happened that you also endured whatever you had to endure, but it made that victim mindset that much more louder, right?
Yes.
And
Thousand
so
percent.
when we talk about embodiment, people forget you've already embodied the bullshit. You've embodied the negative mindsets. You embodied the victimhood, the scarcity, like the ego, the persona of the ego. You've embodied that stuff because it shows in your behaviors.
Yeah. Right.
So once you are able to look at yourself in that mirror, and your mirror was your girlfriend, right? Because that mirror, the I'm looking at a mirror. That mirror is not always going to, like, we see what we see, right? our biggest heartbreaks and blessings are always going to come through people,
Yes.
which means the mirror that we need is going to be through people.
I agree. Yes.
So when she said to you, when you realized the things that she was saying to you, was it her like nagging and her saying, "This is what kind of man I want"? She was mirroring back to you who you want to become, who you are meant to become, right? I think that's transformative in itself. Like that's powerful in itself.
Yeah,
Wow.
I agree.
Yeah. So and then you said so you were already in Ecuador when all of these like these big revelations, they're huge for me, but these big revelations started hitting for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because it was really like a little step by step
Mm.
process
Of course, yeah.
until it was forced, like, and then I just had to crack it all open,
Yeah.
right? Because really, so, from 2013 to 2014, I was super depressed, right? And then I got a little distraction by managing. And so I didn't look at as much. I was still struggling. But
Mm.
2016, a divine occurrence where my friend helped me get a Rashid, child she helped me get a job coaching basketball in Thailand.
Mm.
So the summer of
That's dope.
2016, I moved out to Thailand, and that was one of the best experiences of my life because that was my
Yeah.
first experience outside of the country. Which I
Mhm.
was like planning. I wanted to get out of the country so bad, and I
Yeah.
did. And I was coaching basketball, so it was fun, and I was experiencing this new culture and all these adventures and all this. It was just unbelievable. But even
Yeah.
like looking back, I was still depressed. It's just that I had this amazing experience to distract me from my
Mm.
depression, right?
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
then, that was a step of like feeling happiness was a step in the right direction. Then, I came back to Philly and I started my relationship with my girlfriend and we started plotting to get out. And I was really grinding, like, financially to survive and trying to stay afloat. And that was like another little step of like, okay, I can work towards a goal, even
Yeah.
though I was probably showing up 40%,
Hmm.
maybe, but that was more than when I was before. When I was depressed, I was showing up maybe 10%. So that
Yeah.
was a step, right? Then we plot out, we explore different places. Then we moved to Ecuador, and now it's like, okay, this is happening. I've been dreaming about this for years, and I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna be so good. And all that excitement was like another little step, but at the same time, I was still depressed. I was
Yeah.
still struggling, but I had this new exciting thing to look at, so I didn't have to look at my depression, and so we started our journey together. And that was also very difficult because still, like, I wasn't really showing up the way that, any partner would want for their partner. And now we're in the middle of nowhere, Ecuador, trying to like, figure out our life together.
Yeah.
And so,
Perfect setup.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's like, so like, I was like feeling better little by little. So it felt like I was really doing something. But it
Mm.
wasn't until 2 years, about almost 2 years into Ecuador, where like the mask, the facade was starting to show. Where I just wasn't showing up, and then that's when it kind of made the ultimatum of like, look, like you need help, and you're either
Yeah.
gonna go get help or it's not gonna work. And
Yeah.
then that's when yeah.
Yeah, I always say God is funny, because when you start getting dragged out to the middle of nowhere, it's like, hey,
Yo, that experience was something else.
um, wow. But it's. I mean, I laugh now, right? Like you laugh
Right.
now because you can. Hindsight is always your teacher, but it's like, I mean, like. Well, for me, like I'm thinking back to being in Cambodia. It's like being in the middle of nowhere, as hard as it was, it made me become that much more present.
Yeah, I can agree. I
That
agree with
much
that.
more present, right? And like you said, like whatever mask you've been wearing all this time, it had no choice but to fall off
Right.
because survival is going to ask you to become a certain type of person. Then it's like, well, I don't want to just survive. And it's like, you drop me in the middle of nowhere. Now you really gotta, hit that new grind button. So now you're in Ecuador. What is life like in Ecuador, right? Like you've shared all these highs and lows, and I think even you like moving out to Thailand and just like these were like you had these glimmers that kept taking place, right, throughout your story, which is beautiful to capture. um Now you're in Ecuador, right? You've passed that 2 year mark of just like trying to settle in and really find your rhythm, you and your girlfriend's rhythm. What is life like now for you in Ecuador?
Right now, my life is beautiful beyond belief. It's
Hmm.
such a blessing. So we've been here for 5 years,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm trying to. So we got here with 2021. I can't. The math is not math, and where are we? 2 years.
COVID killed
The
everything when it comes to time. So I'm
yeah.
like,
We did 8 months, and then that's 2 years, and then that's 3 years, and then for 4 years. Yeah, something's not adding up in my head. But right now, um, my life is beautiful, and
Mhm,
it was definitely a challenge to get here. Like, the first 2 years was not the case.
mhm,
Especially, well, first we had maybe like 4 or 5 months, found our place. Then we were in the middle of nowhere for 8 months. Just us two. We were outside of a town of 2,000 people, not a foreigner in miles and miles.
mhm.
And she was fluent Spanish. I knew very little Spanish. And it was just us two. And that was like the beginning of just like struggles and like I thought it'd be this cool experience being in the farm. It was,
Mhm.
I grew up in Philly. It was the first time in my life I could step outside butt naked and just
Yeah.
nobody around.
Yeah.
There's also incredible parts of it, but it was very difficult. Then
Mhm.
we moved in to closer to where we live now, which so I live outside of it's like a hippie foreigner town, and we moved onto a farm,
Mhm.
and we did that for almost 2 years.
Mhm.
And that was a beautiful experience because we lived with the herbalist who knew so much about plants and living with the land. And we did a work exchange. So we didn't pay rent. We just helped on the farm and helped on all these things. So we learned so much. Like,
Yeah.
before that, I was like, oh, I can't wait to learn how to be a farmer. And then after that, it's like, oh, I know how to grow food. I am a farmer now. Like
Yes.
we learned. So that was an amazing experience, but that also like presented its challenges. During that time was also when my girlfriend was like, "You got to get your shit together. It's not going to work, right?"
Yeah.
So we left the farm, and when we left the farm was when I decided it was time for me to start my coaching practice because,
Mhm.
like, leading up to them, that's when I guess the most profound work was done where
Mhm.
I really cracked open my soul, looked at all the difficulties, trauma, darkness, and worked through it to the best of my ability at that time. Then when I started my life coaching was when I really like even probably before that, but what I say is the one of the most beautiful aspects of our life right now is we have oriented our entire life around health. So it's like,
Yes.
sleeping great, what we eat, moving our bodies, healthy practices. My girl's a herbalist, so she's got all sorts of tinctures and, herbal remedies and all of these things. And so it's just all based around what is best for us. And then I
Yeah.
started, I really dove into the life coaching thing, and I started life coaching myself of like creating healthy systems of how like what do I want in my life? How can I get it? What are practices, that are beneficial to me? What habits do I have that are holding me back? How do I improve
Mm.
that? So I
Mm-hmm.
started doing all that to myself to the point where it's like, I don't know, I just have a wonderful relationship with my life because I know what I want. I wake up every day pursuing my passions. And luckily, both of, my business and my job are both aligned with my purpose, which is incredible. And then I know
Yeah.
how to balance, time for just life tasks, time for with my girl, time with
Mm-hmm.
myself. I'm very, very
Yeah.
conscious about these things. And I live on a beautiful farm surrounded by nature on a farm owned by an indigenous family with the matriarch and the patriarch have 11 kids. So it's just
Mm.
like this big family farm that we get to learn with them, and we're becoming closer with them. And my life coaching practice is moving in the right direction. I've had 11 clients at one point. I'm down to six right now, but really I'm working. Now I'm starting the social media journey where I'm creating
Yeah.
content that's, helpful. Just wants to be mutually beneficial. That's my whole thing is just like trying to create healthy community and be mutually beneficial. Where I feel like what I can provide can help you change your
Yeah.
life for the better, and then, what I want back is to be able to support my future family,
Yeah.
hopefully. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like through it all, and my best friend was the one who told me that what happened with the police was the best thing that happened to me. And
Mm.
that was in 2012. And, really within, about a couple, maybe 8 months ago, when we moved into this new place where it all kind of felt like, wow, like it's all working out. And the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say is I really feel like, all of the boxes except financially are checked, which is physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I feel great, better than I could have ever
Mm.
imagined. And right now, my main focus is, creating a business that financially I can create stability. And I make enough, especially the low cost of living in Ecuador. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, enough, but I want abundance and to be able to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. The way the new earth is settling in, all of the new earth leaders, right? We're watching in real time systems crumble. We're
Yes.
watching in
Woo.
real time leaders, I'm getting chills, leaders being exposed. Veils are no longer thin, they're off. The sheets are pulled back. People can't hide behind their egos anymore. People can't hide behind their money anymore, right? We have been witnessing last year, and we'll witness it even more this year, but it's like it's literally the tower card in tarot that we're
Mm,
witnessing, and it's good for us, right?
yeah.
Because us healers, all throughout this time, we've been doing the true inner work needed to lead. When it comes down to it, your purpose is to lead and to steward other people, right? It might be through this podcast, it might be through social media, it might be through retreats, it might be through program planning. Like in some way, shape, or form, our purpose is tied to people. It has everything has been set up for leaders to do what hasn't been done, and that's to take care of mind, body, spirit.
Yes.
So because you've given your container, right? The body. I talk about this all the time. My listeners probably like, here she go. But I love this. I love this work because we've given ourselves permission to rest, to heal, to tap into our shadow, to touch those deep, dark places, to rise from those places, to drop whatever veil, whatever mask, whatever, all of those things, to endure those hardships, to figure out what foods we want, right? I've been vegan 6 years this year, right? It's like
Mm,
I have that rhythm now, right? To find our true divine rhythm. Because that true divine rhythm is exactly who we were created and cultivated to be, right?
yep.
So that financial piece, I always say, right? And I had a friend tell me this, and then I had to like remember it for myself because same boat, that financial piece is on its way because you've already said yes to abundance. The abundance is the rest. The abundance is you living on a farm and being able to grow your own food, but first learning how to do that, right? Because eventually you're going to have to teach someone, like another man is going to want to do the same thing. And now you
Yep.
got a program right then and there,
Mm,
right? Um, you're going to have kids. And now to keep this new system going, you're going to have to teach them how to do that, right? So you literally had to destroy a system, your own family system, so that you could create a new one. And one that is going to be fruitful, one that is already abundant, one that is going to heal so many, so like your kids are not even going to understand when you talk about certain things. You'd be like, what? Like it's bananas, right? How much we had to endure, how much you have to endure to kill off a system, right?
right. Yeah.
You had
Being
to
the
die to
endeavor.
your, yeah, you had to die to yourself, which means dying to whatever your last name was and the system that was created from that. So like everything behind you is dead.
Mm,
And you're like you've rebuilt a new system, and brother, that is the most beautiful thing ever. That no one can ever take this from you. So the financial resources that are coming in, blessed beyond measure.
hey, I appreciate that so much. And yeah, I agree with you. And I feel ready. And I think about all the time where, you hear stories about when money does come to people, they change or they act different. But I'm so confident that that ain't gonna happen to me. Like,
Hmm.
I feel very aligned with my purpose. And like, I understand that, like, my family, my friends, my community is, that's the most important thing to me. Even
Yeah.
before any of the spiritual stuff, that was always like my, what, just the most important aspect of my life. Um, and yeah, another part that I guess I just feel so grateful or blessed about is because, right now, I feel like I'm really aligned walking in my purpose or passion. And so the outcome is for God to decide.
Yeah.
Whether I affect 10 people, my clients, or whether I affect millions, that's not really up to me. Like,
Yeah.
what's up to me is day by day using my free will to try to, be in a line with love
Hmm.
and purpose or passion or whatever the case may be.
All
Um,
of it. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel ready for whatever because I've already kind of been through a lot. So it's like
Yeah.
whatever, like, bring it on. Like right now, I'm really just blessed that every day, like I have so much peace. My life is just peaceful. That's kind of like unbelievable in a sense. Where before, whatever months ago, I used to be like, "It's too peaceful. Like, what's about to happen?" Like,
Hmm.
and now I'm just like, "No, this is just it. Like, I earned this, and I deserve this, and I can from this foundation is the best place for me to help others."
Yeah.
So, whatever comes, that's for God. Um, my preparedness is what, I feel ready for whatever, and I feel blessed to be where I'm at.
That's the best place to be. Law of detachment. Yeah.
There you
Coach
go.
Lewis, thank
Hey,
you. Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Whew, stories are beautiful. I love doing this, guys.
Well,
I
yeah, I
just I
appreciate this. It's not every day that I get to have a
Yeah.
convo like this.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful. And we will be right back.